Cyril Kahn is an author who's released his book, Out of the Darkness, and he's here just now. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm brilliant, thank you. So, in this book, the main character, Neil, uncovers a hidden embezzlement scheme within the company. What inspired that particular plot point?
It's actually something that I lived through many, many years ago when I was doing my auditing training back in South Africa. And it took me a long time to actually sit down and put it down on paper. So part of this book is autobiographical, part of it is fiction, and I leave it to the readers to decide which is which.
Uh-huh. How much would you say is autobiographical and how much would you say is fiction? I mean, if you were to put a percentage on it.
I'd say about 20% is autobiographical, 80% is definitely fiction.
And what made you want to include parts of your own life? I mean, was it simply inevitable because you had interesting stuff to draw on?
In some ways, yes. It also, I tried to get across that no matter how much adversity you face, there's always a route forward. And that's what I try to get across.
The book takes readers on a roller coaster of emotions with unexpected twists and turns. So how did you approach creating suspense and keeping readers engaged throughout the story?
That is a very interesting question. To be honest, I don't really know. I just wrote, and I wiped out and I wrote, and I came up with something that it seemed to work for me.
Yeah. And Neil's journey as well involves love, unity, celebration, disappointment, shock, mystery, and surprise, to name just a few things. So how did you balance those different elements with the narrative?
It just happened. It's not something I consciously thought about. I just wrote. I wrote various characters. I had a very good friend of mine who gave me some very good ideas and very good feedback, and I incorporated her suggestions, ideas, visceral dislikes into my book.
Do you think it's important to take other people's advice and ideas on board?
Oh, most definitely. It's definitely something that you cannot, I don't believe you can do this on your own. I think every writer will think of a plot or think of something to do and then get a draft out there, get a framework out there, and then ask for feedback. Unless, of course, they are absolutely experienced authors who have done so many books that they probably know. It just probably comes instinctively.
Did you have to do any research or speak to other people in order to know what you were writing about, or was your own background enough?
My own background was enough. I've been in the auditing game a long, long time, and I've experienced all kinds of various situations in my auditing lifetime, and I felt that my experience of what I'd done was enough to carry me through without having to get any kind of professional advice on this.
Now, what message do you hope readers will take away from Out of Darkness?
My answer to that is never give up. No matter how hard life seems to be, or even when the ultimate achievement appears to be so far away, don't give up. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. It's the only thing I can hope that readers will get out of this, is that no matter how difficult life is, there's always a light at the end.
And when you were writing the book, did you ever feel like giving up?
Oh, many times. I probably erased the first 5,000 or 6,000 words 20 or 30 times.
Wow.
And you put something down and then you read it and you say, this is terrible. And you wipe it out. And then you do it again and you sort of keep your ideas that you had. And then you put it down not on paper, but on a screen. And then you look at it and you say, this doesn't work. And you wipe it out. And I did that. I don't even know how many times I did that when I first started out.
That's insane. How do you not give up in a situation like that? Because most people would probably be like, if I've done this 30 times, I'm never going to be able to do it.
I don't know. It was just something I had in me that I felt I had to do. And so I just kept plodding along. Once I got through my first 6,000 or 7,000 words, at some point I felt I could now go forward with based on what I had and keep it going. And even then, there were revisions after revision after revision after revision. just to give you an idea, it took me 7 years to write this.
Wow.
And it many revisions and 4 different editors that I've used. Not all professional editors. Some were just people I knew. People I knew who had English major backgrounds, and it went through many iterations. But once I got to a certain point, it became easier.
What do you think it was that made it easier at that point?
Imagination is one, and I used my imagination as if what I would like my characters to be if I met them in real life. George Bernard Shaw, and I'm going to quote him here, said, "Imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire, you will what you imagine, and at last you create what you will." And that's always been in the back of my mind. You could just keep imagining what the end result is going to be.
And were there any particular authors, actually, that influenced your style of writing?
I'm not so sure about the style, but definitely authors that inspired me there are 2. One is John Grisham, who writes an incredible mystery, and the other one is Lee Child with his Jack Reacher character. And these guys they're just masters of the art of writing, and they keep their readers in suspense right up to the last second. And I think it wasn't so much their style as their ability to keep the reader hooked on the book. So you wanted to keep turning the page. And when you got to the end of one of their books, you were hoping to get the next book, because you knew that each one was going to be a lot of fun to read.
Yes. What can we expect from you in the future? Are you working on any other books? And if so, are they going to take 7 years again?
No, that is not going to happen. So I'm actually working on a number of sequels to this book. I won't tell you how many, because it'll probably think I'm totally insane.
Yeah.
But I am working on a number of sequels. And as depending on how well this book does will depend on whether those will get to be published. I've already had people who've read my book asking me, when can I get the sequel? And which is very encouraging for me. So yes, that's my answer, is that I definitely have plans to get more books into the pipeline. I have a feeling, or maybe it's just arrogance, that this would make a very, very good TV series, not a movie, but a series, because it's got a lot of twists and turns and set in different places around the world. Although the original book is set purely in South Africa, which is where I'm from, and it's just a whim that hopefully I will get it out there and someone will actually pick it up and actually enjoy it.
Yes, and hopefully some TV people will be interested, because certainly actors will be interested, getting to travel to different parts of the world to film it.
Well, yes, we can always hope.
Yes,
I mean, I don't know if anybody of your listeners have been to Cape Town, which is where the book is set, but Cape Town is one of the most spectacular cities in the world. And even though I no longer live there, it's still the place that I long to get back to, and I'll try to go back as often as I can.
Well, in the meantime, where are we able to find this current book, Out of the Darkness?
From what I know, it's on Amazon, available as a hardback, a paperback, and in Kindle versions. It's available on Barnes & Noble. I believe it's on Goodreads, and there are a few other websites that I don't really know that well, but it is out there.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for talking to us today. It's been great to have you here.
Oh, thank you very much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. And it's the first radio show I've ever done.
Haha, wow. And hopefully not the last.
Hopefully.